get this to stand up by itself. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm in my room, darling. It's late. It's 8:15. It's not really late, but it's not my usual hours. I didn't know if I was going to do a video today. I knew that I had to make a follow-up to the previous video, but I didn't know when I was going to do that or how, XYZ. And I just had to take a step back and not like pressure myself to do whatever I feel like I like, put it on my shoulders, basically. And I recently, like, I don't know, I spoke to God about it, and he was just like, yeah, no, I don't tell you that stuff for you to be worried and panicked. So I was like, okay. Because I don't know, I was putting too much pressure on myself, I think. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't have any notes and I don't have anything written down. Kind of because I just want to see like where this goes. I think I'm able to. I don't know. We'll see. I might need to be suited to do this, darling. Because it's just a lot, and I don't know. We'll see. But oh my gosh, sorry. So I think hopefully, if you watch my previous video, oh, it's only been 2 minutes. Wow, I feel like I've been talking for like 30 minutes already. If you watch my previous video, I started talking about a jewel that God gave me, and I don't know if it was really clear, but the jewel was about racism. Not really racism, but like the races, quote unquote, and where they come from. And so I don't know how long it's going to take me to like lay this all out. It's really simple, but it's kind of layered and involves a lot of other narratives. But the thing that's like really fascinating about it to me, or the one that's something that I think is really fun about it, is like when he told me it, and or like he started just laying out different things about it, and I realized like, as much as I hate that analogy about the elephant and the blind man and the elephant and everyone's feeling on a piece of the elephant, I absolutely hated that. What is it, a metaphor? No, it's like a allegory. I don't know. Because within Christianity, it's a bit flawed. It's like, how do you even know that it's an elephant? Like, who told you that? Like, and the answer is the Christians, because that's exactly what we're doing. Every there isn't a single like thing about it that he didn't clear up that I hadn't heard in some other. I was like, oh my gosh, they're right, but they're not. Like, they, even the Hebrew Israelites had a chunk in it. It's like, oh my gosh, they're right, but they're not. So yeah, the way that it's sitting right there too is like, and that's after like a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two of sitting with the knowledge. It definitely, when you first hear it, you're not like, oh duh, you're like that, and then after a while you're like, dude, that's so simple. And so what it is like, so so basically, like, how should I start this, Lord? Because I really want to start it like, I want um the reveal to be like what mine was like, but mine is also, he worked off of the information that I already had. So I don't know that I can really do that, because I don't know what information y'all have. But I mean, everybody by and large knows, I would assume, what we as humans know so far about what race is, and how it's not uh it's like scientists know that there's no such thing as race, that we are all the same race. This thing's broken. um but they that doesn't satisfy the world that we live in, which is very sort of race based, or at least it happened to be in certain parts, in certain times. And so, um, it's like, it's so strange for them to find that in science and say, well, there's no such thing as that. And it's like, well, but there's extremes here, like out here. Like, how are you not, like, well, where do those come into play? And so then it becomes environmental, and it's like, oh, well, you didn't develop this or that from this environment, harsh, cold, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of explains it. But there's something like, I mean, by and large, everybody just kind of lives their lives and they're not thinking too much about it. It's just kind of one of those things that you wonder about in your mind. Maybe you worked on it. There's certain times in my life, I would say like 12 to 14, and then maybe again in college, these times where I focused on it. I mean, being Black, I guess I had a vested interest in trying to understand it, but like, and then me particularly, I usually I'm going to go a lot more hammer than somebody else would as far as like research and understanding, because I'm just a curious person and just trying to understand, always trying to understand. So, yeah, there was a lot of information that I had come across over my life, and at this stage, I had kind of settled on, sorry, that's my night light. um, you know, I had made peace with a lot of things. Like, I felt like a lot of my questions had been answered, and then there was just some that just were never gonna be, right. Um, well, and then he kind of, this is another one of the things where he sort of told me by accident, or it was kind of like a random thing that happened during a random part of the day. And I think my husband was like watching something about, I don't know, it was like a short about DNA, and something about how African DNA was like, had more something. They were expecting, I don't remember it, but it was something about how they were expecting for African DNA to have a certain deficiency, and instead it had the opposite of that. It was extremely not deficient, more not deficient than some other strands of DNA, and they're just like puzzled by why they keep predicting it to be a certain way, and then it ends up not being that way. And it's because okay, so okay, let me start with um let me just go to the beginning. Okay, so you got Adam and Eve, right? You got Adam and Eve. What color are they? We don't know. But basically what he told me was that they're going to be they're going to be the color of the soil, obviously. They're not going to, that would be weird to have like a different color soil and then make them a different color than the soil that they came from. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So they're going to be the color of the soil, right? Um, okay, so Adam, Eve. Then we have Cain and Abel, right? Okay, so Cain kills Abel, right? Now, if you are my mom or went to our church when I was a little girl, there was a story that my mom likes to tell of our pastor at the time who um, used to, it was kind of a joke, that he would tell the joke that Cain was the mark of Cain was whiteness, um, and that he's been getting away with murder ever since. Ha ha ha. He was a laugh track. Okay, well, he was right. He was right. I think maybe he probably knew that he was right. It's one of those things though that like I've done that many times with the scriptures. I'm like, what if it's this? And then you find out later that you're correct, but it's like, it's something that could blow the lid off of everything, but you're just at home reading the word, so whatever. And you just get a revelation. You're like, what if it's that? Oh my gosh, that'd be wild. And then come to find out later, like you're correct or whatever. But yeah, so I kind of like plugged that in as a joke a lot of the time because it was like, wow, that's so plausible. It's like sad. And he was like, yeah, no, that is, yeah. Like, he was like, and it's not just whiteness, like, it's a mark. Like, okay, so, and I think, like, I meant to actually research this before I did this video, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't because um, I think, like, God redirected me so that I don't do that because it's basically like fact checking. And I do that. He doesn't mind that I do that, but sometimes it's like the time has elapsed and I haven't done the fact checking. It's like, okay, well, you don't get to do it. um, but I'm pretty sure that I remember hearing like once before about whiteness and how basically it's like a mutation. It's not even like a it's not a, I guess it is technically an absence of pigment, but that's just the part that we see on the outside. There's a whole, like, it's a mark, you understand? Like, it wouldn't do him any good to just mark Cain. That's not the point. Like, he was a murderer, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't want he didn't want to kill him because then he's losing two grandbabies for what? Like, it's too much loss. So he marks them and said, like, boom, a mark. Do you understand? This guy's a murderer. Him and all of his like big, huge, like, don't mistake this guy. Watch out. He will murder you. You need a mark like that. And it's gotta, again, why would it just be just Cain's mark? Everything like that has been done up to this point, any mistake that has been done has been become a generational mistake. We're only four people into the world here. So naturally, this would be a mark that something like that he could be identified for all times, right? So it's more than just white pigment. It's features, probably the eye colors and all of that. Okay, mutation, right? It's the earth. So that's pretty early. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and the other thing is that he became a wanderer. So I wish that I could pull it up on my phone. I don't know. Maybe I could while I'm live. Here, I got my laptop right here. So I could read you like the actual curse. So he becomes a wanderer, right? Okay. So there isn't white people yet, though. And basically, like what he was conveying is that, yeah, where did they come from? Like, and I don't know if, if you've ever taken a class, I remember, learning about it through, I think it was history of the English language. White people like emerged, you know what I'm saying? Like around like the year 1000. So they're new, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so here's what happened, because he was a wanderer. Okay. And yeah, a lot of people had Cain's blood. And if we're going by the biblical timeline, the only person from that world that even survived was Noah, right? It's reasonable to um, deduce that Noah had Cain's blood in him. He probably had a lot of people's blood in him. Okay. Um, so, and then it's kind of important. It's like, then yes, you have to think about it like Cain would have been the one to dilute everyone else, because Abel dies, but then Eve has another son named Seth, and Seth is what everybody else comes out of. So, um, so it goes from Adam to Seth for anyone who's not Cain. Do you know what I'm saying? And they Seth was probably, I don't know, probably, I'm wondering that, because it's like Adam and Eve, where, like, would be the genetic makeup of Seth? Like, I don't know. So, but the point is, we also don't know what they look like. Okay. No, it can't be possible to know. And when you look at like everyone else on the earth, it's reasonable to conclude that everybody else on the earth is about the color of Noah and them, give or take. Who was Noah's sons? Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, Shem is the ancestor of the Jewish people. So the Jewish people are, a little lighter in color. They're also, they were heavily genetically watched, let's say. So from Abraham down, it was a genetics game. So they were very strategically doing that. So yeah, they ended up sort of being a standard color across the board. I mean, it's not even really, I don't know that I would necessarily call Jewish people white, but they're not, you don't think about race when you see them. There's you latch onto some other concept, right? But we can also see that they can vary. The pigmentation can vary, and there's all different types of Jews all over the world. X, Y, Z. I'm talking about like the ancient world though right now, so I'm not really talking about like modern times. And then we have Ham. Okay. So Ham is another of Noah's sons. Okay. And when I looked up the word Ham, I looked up the name Ham. Like, what does that even mean? Ham, does it mean? I doubt it means ham. What does it mean, right? So I looked up Ham. Okay. Let's see if I can. Gosh, I really need my phone. Can I get? I only need my phone because I use the Blue Letter Bible app. But I'm sure it's pretty good online. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna look up Ham because I'm gonna show you. Okay, so Ham, and then if I click on it, what will it do? Tools. Okay. Okay, Ham. Proper name. And then when I click on it, it says, oh, it's pronounced Ham. You understand? Ham means hot. You understand? Or warm. So ham, when I looked up ham and it said hot, I was like, it means hot? You named your child hot? Why would you name your kid hot? That's so weird. So it's like hot or warm. I'm like, why would you name your child warm? Like, it's just like, what? What am I even, what's going on? Like, okay, Sons of Ham, whatever. Now, if you know anything about, the whole Sons of Ham, or not Sons of Ham, but the curse of Ham, right? Ham's curse in the Bible is that he has to serve his brothers. He's to be the least of servants to his brothers, and serve them forever. Okay. So, if you've heard it in relation to slavery, this was a passage that was cited, back in the day about, how did this whole, you know, how did slavery come about in the way that it did? And a lot of people would cite that passage, and they were half right. You understand? It's so amazing. Oh my gosh, right? Okay. So I've heard that. I when I looked into it, I mean, I knew where it was going with the hamsters, blah blah blah. Heard that plenty of times, right? So, so, and then when you look at Ham's sons, because you've got Egypt, okay, this is the Bible, guys. Egypt, Cush, Put, and Canaan are Ham's sons, right? Cush became the father of Nimrod. I mean, if you care to know that. Okay. All I'm saying is this is all well established, okay? Cush is, known as a part of Africa. It's um mentioned as, usually mentioned like, if you're talking about a Cushite, you're talking about a black person, more than likely. And Canaan obviously became the Canaanites, right? So, those are the sons of Ham. And then Japheth is the third son. And those sons um, became seafaring peoples and went around. And so, I don't know. It's pretty interesting to me. But the point being that, yeah, I looked up Ham and it meant hot. And then later, I was like, that's so weird. And then later I was in a shower and I was like, it's January. So, that when you're in the shower and it's like, why is this water not taking winter seriously? Like, so I was in the shower and I was like turning the water way up or the heat way up. And he's like, yeah, you like it warm because you like it warm, warm. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. Get all the way out of here. You mean to tell me, Ham, you understand? You liked it hot, okay? They called him hot because, like, I just see, like, Noah having the son, and he's not the oldest. In fact, I'm pretty sure Japheth is the oldest, even though the order is Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Like, you always say it like that. if you grew up with the Bible tradition. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Well, Japheth is the oldest. Why is he going last? It's just, I think it's just about like it rolls off the tongue. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But the point is, I could just see little Ham coming into the world and he just outside. You understand? He just never needs to be in a tent ever. It's not, it can't get warm enough. You know what I'm saying? Warm. That's his name. Warm. So, you take a guy like Warm, then he had 4 sons, you understand? We got Egypt. We know he like it warm, right? That doesn't even contradict anything. You're like, this story, it's so thin. Not really. Canaan, warm, tracks, Cush, of course. He's in the right place. But I don't know, sounds like some Egyptian stuff. So like they were probably together. But the point is, and then you see, Egyptians aren't black, but they're not white. And they live in warm climates forever. Like shout out to Egypt, who has been with us since Noah got off the boat. You understand? Egypt. Shout out to literally every biblical place that still exists. Lebanon was good. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I love your work. Syria. It's amazing. So then you have, okay, so here's the other thing that jumped out at me when he was telling all this. Because yeah, so I just talked about the, sons of Ham, okay, the curse of Ham. And it literally says this in your Bible. It says it's called the curse of Ham, right? And it's the part where Noah builds a vineyard or grows a vineyard. He gets drunk, okay, and then he, I don't know, is just naked, okay, and then Ham goes in there and stares for a long time. I don't know. Then he goes and tells his brothers, and then his brothers go in there and like cover up Noah, right? Cover up his dad. And there's been a lot of speculation about what does it mean that he uncovered his father's nakedness. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's code for he slept with his wife. He slept with Noah's wife, which would have been his mom, stepmom. I don't know." So a lot of people say that because there is a phrase in the Bible about that, like, and it is called, uncovering your father's nakedness or whatever. But it's like when you sleep with your father's wife or concubine or whatever. Okay. So a lot of people say that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think that it is literal because of the curse, the nature of the curse. And then what's also weird, and I still don't, I'm still digging into this. So, yeah. So when that happens and Noah puts a curse, he doesn't put the curse on Ham. I don't know why it's called the curse of Ham. That is misleading. I don't know why it does that. Because literally my entire life, because I've heard the story, it's like, it's maybe not as prevalent as some of the other stories, but it's like, it's not like Jonah and the whale or something like that, but it's a story that comes up. And I have never once in my life noticed that Noah curses Canaan. Like he says, after Ham does it, then he goes, "Cursed be Canaan." You're like, well, why are you pulling Canaan into this? Like, but it's like, okay, so Canaan is born already, which means that all of them are probably born by this point. But like, why is he cursing Canaan over that? That's weird And I'm sure that Canaan was like, old man, you're tripping. I reject I reject your curse, but I don't think you could do that back in the day. It was, you knew too much to say that. We do that now because we're ignorant and we're clueless. So we go, well, I reject your curse. Or we just can treat it like nothing. But, and that's kind of what God was telling me about. It's like, uh, even if you had the presence of mind to do that back then, when the daddy cursed the baby is cursed. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting out of that. Weird aunts, we can maybe talk about it. But when the father has cursed something, that thing's cursed in the family. So yeah, they show me that. Okay. So what we're talking about here is the story of two curses. Okay? Doing this thing in the world. Okay? Cain is cursed to be a wanderer. Now Cain was cursed by God. That's why his curse is so thorough. And so it's appearance based. Okay? Canaan's curse is not appearance based, but because of the implications of it. You're going to be the lowest of servants of all of your brothers. You can localize it, and also like it's going to touch a specific group, and I mean, think about it. Nobody is really going to be keen to team up with the descendants of the brother who is cursed to serve his brothers forever. Now, I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, he instantly became Cinderella. It's not like that, because Egypt, who wasn't cursed, but I'm saying he was a son of Ham. Um, Canaan becomes obviously the Canaanites, but he becomes all this other stuff as well, because this is really early in the timeline. So that's just like one name drop, okay? And then also, like, if you migrate, like, let's say that there's the Canaanites that we know that are called Canaanites. And I don't know if y'all remember when I did that Jubilees video, and it was talking about how Canaan went into uh, Shem's land because lots were cast, when they got off the boat, who was going to live where. And Shem, drew basically the region that the Jews are in now. And I forget where Ham and Japheth drew, but point is, like, Canaan, it said in Jubilees that Canaan went down to just go take that land. And Ham was like, I wouldn't do that, bro. He was like, no, I'm doing it. And he named it Canaan. He named it after himself, and that wasn't supposed to be his land. So, there's those. And then there are some that are going to be, I think about like, Abraham's, is it his second wife or third wife? I don't remember. But and like where those sons ended up going somewhere else. And so there's all these little pockets where descendants of Canaan could be. So I think it's pretty easy to deduce that, of the descendants that lived in Africa. And at this point, this would be like a remote This is like a remote area, like West Africa in 17 whatever, or whenever they started, doing the slavery in mass, the transatlantic, whatever. They would have been like a remote group. Like, who has touched them? They would have been preserved. You know what I mean? A lot like, whatever the Native Americans were doing at the time that anyone else came to America, that was before they were disturbed. It's like that's what they were. And it's kind of the same way in Africa. Like, who would have been by there if it wasn't a ship? So we're talking about like a remote area of a preserved DNA strand. You know what I'm saying? So these are, regardless, like if you're in Africa, there's a likelihood that you are a son of Ham, especially if you're near the mother loving equator. Not of Canaan, the cursed one, but of Ham. Any and all Hamites, right? Warm, do you understand? Including Canaan, including but not limited to. The point is, that's real close to the beginning. Do you know what I'm saying? The beginning as we know it. Noah, Ham, boom. And then you live in that region and then you never move because it's hot and you're fine. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not about race. His name was Warm. The melanin did what it needed to do to just sustain his affinity for warm weather. The melanin did what it needed to do. Meanwhile, Cain's melanin is not doing what he needed to do, but it doesn't matter because he is not in warm climates. He is wandering. Probably, uh, just like, I don't know. I remember reading something. Was it Jasher or something? I don't know. It was like, I don't remember, but it was something where it was showing like, people would meet up. Like, first of all, he's got a big ass mark on him of just, it's more than just whiteness, it's features. And my theory, he didn't tell me this. He just, he feeds me a little bit and then I, whatever. Or he feeds me like the answer and then I go, oh, that's why this is, right? I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I think about like all of the, that European history, or not even just the history, but just in general, the records of Europeans and the general consensus that people, it's like they were compared to angelic beings, right? So, or just like, it's like we really try to downplay that period in history because we don't want we don't want that type of language around anymore where we're calling Nordic peoples or white people like angelic. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to do that no more, right? Well, I think that is because I think he gave them that, he gave him that mark. The mark is the angelic sort of DNA type mark. Like, because the reality is he was the original color of Adam and Eve. Whatever that was, you want to say it's black, whatever. I don't think it was that. I think that the sons of Ham became that dark because the skin, at the time that happened, the skin could do that. It had superpowers back then, you know what I'm saying? And then they just stayed in that region and it just did what it did over time. and that's really just not possible anymore. Okay. And everyone else, Cain is around, and he's intermarrying because he's got a mark. I mean, I don't know if he became blonde and blue eyed after that day or whatever, but a lot of people probably wanted to, they saw something appealing about Cain's lineage. Probably. I mean, there's no way to know that because there's really not that much talked about the life, that world before the flood happened. But like, I can see Cain doing very well in that world where the thoughts of every human heart were evil all the time, and God was like, I can only deal with this so long, right? So so that's why, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Noah had some Cain blood, because it just wouldn't surprise me. So anyway, but what I think happened is that once Jesus came and he was able to do what he did, and the sacrifice accomplished what it did, that God began to sort of redeem these two cursed groups, okay? Two cursed groups that were never going to meet each other. You know what I'm saying? Before Jesus. And well after, there was a while. Even though he had sent the eunuch, he had sent Philip to the eunuch, the Ethiopian eunuch, immediately, like post haste. He was like, go get them, right? And then, where Christianity spread, which is the Roman Empire, like, which is a perfect place for, it's almost like Cain, it was like the curse was null and void, and Cain stopped wandering. You know what I'm saying? To the point where in 1,000 years, there was a whole race of them. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that cool? And nobody knows. Nobody knows who that is. It's just white people, right? They don't know that that's Cain. These are people who have such a concentration of Cain's blood that they are white. You know what I'm saying? And you can't. The only reason we know that is the outward mark. The outward mark isn't the DNA. It's just an outward mark that doesn't go away ever. But it doesn't mean anything anymore. That's what he was like trying to show me. It's like what we're seeing with our eyes are the vestiges of old things that happened that are true. So yes, Cain did get a mark. And yes, he's in our DNA. He's the third person ever. He's in our DNA, bro. Everybody got Cain. I'm not as dark as this robe. Okay, I got Cain's blood. Do you see what I'm saying? And then there's some people that, don't leave their small town and they're still white. Okay. But like, what I'm saying is, like, these two processes happening on earth. One where it's like the whiteness is being preserved really because it doesn't go away, or it's like it's not even being preserved. It's like, I think it comes out of his descendants. God just gave them a really, 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 really good mark. Okay. But now everyone's redeemed. So it doesn't matter. This mark doesn't mean that he's a murderer necessarily. And nobody who's alive now even knows that is the mark. So, and it doesn't matter anymore. But this is what's funny about it. Like, I do think it's like the thing that is very particular to white people that we keep trying to bring light to. And it kind of seems harsh. It kind of seems weird. It kind of seems paranoid. But, bro, they're Cain, bro. Because um, when you look up like that whole situation and like just the concept of killing your brother because he um is getting more prestige than you are is like, oh, is that supposed to be strange? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we know that really well. And it's more than just, oh, it's in all of our movies. Because the thing is, I don't know. And this is why the minorities, sometimes we're linked up because it's like, we can't relate, bro. Are you okay? Like, the white people really got to get a handle on this murderous rage against the brother. Like, literally, what's that movie? The Bateman, Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. This is a guy who, like, you're not going to see a lot of other people in his shoes. And it's more than just race because he's not a different race. He's not. It's Cain. It's not a race. So it's something that it's like it only comes out. It's like you look at American Psycho, that's an extreme case of a person, right? So it's like you'll see it in these extreme cases. We all have the school shooter, XYZ. We got all of these tropes for white rage and crimes and murders. And they're not murdering a lot of strangers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when it does happen, is what I'm saying. So we're kind of used to it now. Like it would be weird to freak out about it now. It's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what you're right. That's what it is. It's not like, oh my gosh, let's all be scared. It's Cain. He's gonna kill them all. Like, no, it's just there, and it's not just murder, but it's just like there's something about the jealousy, bruh. You can't do better than that. Sometimes, not all of them. Oh my gosh, you can't have the favor of God on you. You have to be worried. Isn't that funny, bro? And I think it would be good for them, like, to know that, and then they would be able to watch out for it. Right now, they just think it's like a normal thing. It's like, oh, sibling rivalry. It's like, bro, that's a little much. And it's look, I'm not immune just because I'm darker. I got the blood. We all got the blood. So, but it's like that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter anymore. It's the vestiges of something old, just like the curse on Canaan, which technically, if the Cain curse is lifted, then Canaan's curse is probably lifted. But that was not a curse that God put on him. That was a curse that Noah put on him. Okay, so God put the curse on Canaan, or on Cain rather. Cain and Canaan. That's hilarious, bro. God put the curse on Cain. Noah put the curse on Canaan. Okay, and what's wild is that also what that means is that Cain and Canaan, any places, let's just do America because I live in America, so we'll just keep it rotating here. They're sharing the same space for the first time since never really because um, Cain was banished or whatever, cursed to be a wanderer, and then Seth was born. Okay, so it's like these two groups, by virtue of their curses, can be identified as two of the oldest groups. These two groups, we're talking about siblings, okay? Cain is much older, right? But the only, he only got one other brother. He killed the one, right? They only got one other brother. So that's everybody else is his brother. Everybody else is his brother. And um Ham, Canaan, is, you know, the next oldest group of DNA that we can identify just on their based on their characteristics. We got Cain, cursed to be a wanderer, and Warm, cursed to serve. And uh it's like that's such a high concentration of like that's Cain with his brother again. Like they're brothers. Like it literally was a brother enslaving another brother, which would have been on brand for Cain, I think. Like even though that wasn't really about, I wouldn't say that was too much about like any type of emotion or anything. Obviously, they wouldn't have known the brotherhood, and like by and large, it just shows how like we are all related. But it's just like so funny. Like of the groups that are all related, these two are like are like the oldest traceable, like that it would be like Cain and his grandson or something, or his nephew. It's like Cain and his nephew. Like, so I don't know, I find that fascinating. And just even the fact that it's like now it seems like I will post race relations, whatever, but the point is, I married uh, I'm in an interracial marriage. His like my husband's well, no, they're not in an interracial marriage. He's the only one in an interracial marriage, right? So like it's like this new generation, it's like everything is starting to, which used to be sad. A lot of people used to hate that, black people were not marrying other black people, but it's almost like this poetic thing where we're the last two groups that haven't become the melting pot that the rest of the world is. Everyone else is like not any different types of colors, or they lived together and now it's all kind of a melting, meshing color. And it's like it's finally starting to happen with the final two cursed groups that were isolated and never meeting, and then finally meeting, and then a friction, and then merge, and then it's like they blend in with the rest of the world. Like, is it like, I don't know. To me, it's just like that's so cool. That's so cool that I was here to see any part of that process. But yeah, so that's what he told me, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. Because yeah, I mean, it took me an hour, so I feel um like that was sufficient because I thought, okay, I'm gonna just say this in 17 minutes and just leave it up. Like, okay, y'all. Well, anyways, hit the like button, whatever. Like, no, it's really, really, really cool and extensive. And I know a lot of people. You want to give statistics, you want to give proofs, you want to give all of this to give your thing credibility. And it's like, you know what? That's what you do when you are human and you come across information or you have an opinion, it's like, God told me that. You know what I'm saying? You take it or you leave it. It's so something about like it's like God will tell you things, and it's like there's a lot of things that He can tell you that you could parlay into. You could become the wisest person in the world with the information that He gives you, but a lot of it is so amazing and true and correct and perfect that people can't really grasp it. It's just like, because it's like, well, if that was true, then there would be a whole thing. There'd be a parade, there'd be a people, somebody would have already came across that. I'm sure that somebody already debunked this. It's like you can't believe that uh there's just new information that no one is touching. Like, what? But like that has been my whole life with God. Can I help you?
Mom, I'm so annoyed. I
Give me
keep
the
trying to
building.
listen to music, and every time it keeps changing the song and I don't want it to. Going beep and then change the song.
And it's not your headphones doing that? You're not changing the song yourself?
No, I'm not doing anything with my phone. I'm not doing anything.
Well, where is it? Where is your phone?
In the office.
That's weird. You're gonna have to show me what you're talking about. Well, okay. So anyway, this concludes today's Jesus Revelation Hour. I hope you've been blessed. And yeah, I'll be back later, I guess. Okay. How do I stop this? Because I don't see. Oh, the X in the corner, maybe? Are you sure you want to stop streaming? I'm sure. Later.
Okay, put my headphones on.
Okay.